Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Learning Tree International's monthly webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about ISACA's latest certificate, that is the Certificate of Cloud Auditing Knowledge. And we are joined by Chris Damali, who's Director of Business Development for the channel. I may have gotten that wrong. But anyway, Chris will start in just a moment. I do have a couple of housekeeping items. We are in Learning Tree's remote anywhere environment, so your mics are muted. If you have any questions or comments, please enter them in the chat pod, and we will have time for a Q&A at the end of Chris's presentation. In addition, you will receive this recording as well as the slides in a follow-up email in a week or so to the webinar. And with that, I am going to just turn it over to Chris.
Thank you to Learning Tree for being a part of today's conversation. As Jackie said, my name is Chris Damali. I'm the Director of Business Development for ISACA. And so really excited to be a part of this conversation, for you taking time out of your busy day to learn about a terrific new certificate that ISACA has brought to market. As we get started here, I just want to review that this is the Cloud Certificate of Audit Knowledge. And so as we think about the capabilities that each of us has, and as we think about the changes that are happening in the world, we found that this particular certificate has been extremely relevant, and we've partnered with the Cloud Security Alliance to deliver this in a way that we think is very exciting. Let me start by reviewing a couple different things about ISACA for those of you that may not be aware of who we are. ISACA was founded all the way back in 1969, so we're a 51-year-old nonprofit with quite a bit of authority in this space because we have 145,000 members and over 220 local chapters around the world. That gives us the ability to really draw on expertise from anywhere to ensure that our components are the most relevant and that they stay relevant year after year, in addition to us having the ability to update our established content. What that also means is that we are a global leader in the concept of digital trust. And this is a term that you're going to be hearing a lot about from ISACA over the next few years. Digital trust really encompasses the concept of, now that we are all in a COVID environment, so many organizations have people working from home, how do we verify in an environment where we can't see each other face to face, where we can't visit the premises, and in the case of cloud, where the equipment is not even on premise either, right? And so by putting all those different pieces together, digital trust is what we've found to be a very resonant term for the concepts of audit, security, risk, and governance, which is the traditional aspects of ISACA's expertise that we have brought together within this one concept. So CCAK, as our newest certificate, flows very smoothly out of the digital trust concept, as all of our audit folks, all of our assurance team members, our risk, our security, our governance professionals are now looking to add this cloud dimension to their capabilities. What I would add to that is that if you, again, you are not familiar with ISACA, I'm not trying to make this into an eye chart. What I'd like to do is highlight there's many different types of materials that are available for us, right? Over on the left-hand side, we see the very popular CISA certification. Probably many of the people on the call here today have that certification. And that A in CISA is really driven by the audit or IT audit component. We also see the CISM, another extremely popular certification, and the S in CISM means security, and the M is management. So it's all about IT security management. We also see the C risk, the C GITE, which have to do with risk and governance, respectively. Our newest certification is CDPSE, which we abbreviate as the CDPSE, and that has to do with privacy, another very important and increasing in stature element that touches all of our lives on an everyday basis. And so CCAK complements and fits in nicely with all the different components that we see here today, and takes those to the next level with very little overlap. And so don't just take my word for it. What we've got here is a very small sample size of the companies represented by ISACA's membership. If you work with one of these organizations or for one of these organizations, or even if you aspire to work for one of the many terrific organizations that are called out on this page, the CCAK will serve you very well as you consider your skill set. We see plenty of industry callouts from financials, from defense, from government, from utilities, and from consultancies who are really looking for this type of expertise to add to their teams and then have the credentials to be able to describe that to their clients as they move forward. Whatever organization you're looking for, whatever size organization that you're looking for, a CCAK can serve you quite well within these functions. So this will talk a little bit about what we're seeing in the marketplace and why we chose this certification and why we chose to release it now, right? The first data point that I want to call out here is the top one, $661 billion in cloud services by 2024 is what we anticipate based on our global surveys of our members. In that context, that is a major growth center for all of our jobs, right? And we need to be poised to capture as much as we can out of that component, each of us as professionals. And this certificate speaks very well to that capability in this moment. What we see down here is that 59% of organizations, sorry, that's a little small for me, expect their cloud usage to increase because of COVID-19. And that's not surprising information to any of us, right? We're seeing that this is the moment where, because of COVID, now so many organizations are now needing something that supports their cloud functionality. And then finally, what we see down here, 70% of organizations are not ready for this influx of cloud components, where they've seen a security breach over the course of the last 12 months, right? COVID has certainly been the accelerator of trends that we already saw happening here in the marketplace. That's not these kind of defensive moves is not to speak at all of the cloud benefits that we're able to capture around remote access, cost savings, increased collaboration on a global perspective, disaster recovery resilience, automatic updates, and sustainability that each of us thrives on. So with that being the environment, what do we go out there and do? Our purpose in creating the CCAK, this cute logo built by my marketing team, CCAK in a nutshell, really has three key components. The first of which is that it is the first certificate of this kind that fills a need for a vendor-neutral technical training and credentialing, specifically in cloud auditing. And we'll talk about that in more detail when we talk about what is the content of this certificate. But really, it is first to market with this type of capability in the space of cloud audit. The second is that it's presented by industry leaders. The Cloud Security Alliance, we've partnered with here, was brought their cloud computing expertise, and ISACA, bringing our expertise in digital trust and the aspects of audit that we've talked about. Bringing that together, it's a strong balance of technical and strategic learning so that it can be absorbed over the course of 2 days of training, which you're then able to take those practices back to your job on an everyday basis and to be able to deliver those capabilities for your organization. On top of these three strong benefits, we also see that the CCAK is a certificate, so there's no annual renewal required, there's no CPE requirements, and there are no prerequisites either. So it is a very logical follow-on to the CISA, or any of the other ISACA certifications that we've talked about. The CISSP is another popular one, the CCSK, the CCSP. Those are all very logical follow-ons or complements to the CCAK, and we'll talk about that as we go through our conversation here today. So let's talk briefly about the credentials and capability that the CSA brings to the table. Founded in 2009, the Cloud Security Alliance is the world's leading organization dedicated to defining and raising awareness of best practices to help ensure a cloud computing environment, right? And that is why ISACA sought them out as our partner for this, even as they were looking for us as the authority within the audit space. We also see some components around CSA that they've delivered to the market: security guidance for critical areas of focus in cloud computing, cloud controls matrix and the consensus assessments initiative questionnaire, and then security, trust, assurance, and risk program, or the STAR program as it's well known. ISACA has brought the same expertise on our side around the digital trust concept as we've talked about already here today. So the merger of these two organizations is really the right fit to bring this certificate to the table at this moment in time. So let's revisit the 3 points of CCAK, and I especially want to talk about the unique cloud vendor neutral solution, right? And so when you think about the words vendor neutral, that means that no matter what your organization is utilizing for their cloud services, whether it's AWS, Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and a variety of other options that are out there in the marketplace, you can have the capabilities to deliver no matter what of those service providers your organization utilizes. It also delivers those technical trainings in conjunction with what we see here from these curriculum level topics. We see building and executing a cloud audit plan, applying auditing as an assurance tool. We see the impact of cloud automation, measuring that, native development and integration models on auditing and compliance. We see that you'll learn about the key concepts and tools of cloud governance and risk management. You'll also see designing and building a cloud compliance program. Certainly an essential skill that most of these organizations are looking for. You'll see compliance requirements, control objectives and frameworks, certification, attestation, and authorizations, all within that cloud environment that changes and differentiates from your standard audit that we've known and loved for years. So who's the right audience for this? Is this right for me? Let's talk about that. You know, it's really ideal for anyone who's setting up cloud systems, performing audits in a cloud environment, or is the target of an audit at an organization that utilizes cloud. So let's get a little bit more specific. What are some specific roles that have been very common for this early rollout of CCAK? And just to be clear, CCAK came to market in April of 2021, so a very new certificate indeed. So one example is in the financials industry. We've seen a significant number of IT auditors come to the table looking for the CCAK. You know, if you have a CISA or a CISM or a CISSP today, it really behooves you to take a look at the CCAK and see if the content adds to the capabilities that you need for your job every day. Second, the independent audit space, always a big component of ISACA's membership, and especially internal IT and security practitioners who need the skills to be able to deliver in this cloud computing environment. Next, we see consultancies, right? So Big Four consultancies are a major part of what we do, and risk management, internal control practitioners, both at CSPs and CSCs, a wide variety of different folks are required to be able to deliver on this type of capability, and the consultancies certainly seem to be very central to a need for cloud computing audit. Then we see e-commerce organizations, and they've definitely stepped up because they run so much on cloud whether it's the vendors to these e-commerce organizations or those organizations themselves. We've seen a lot of folks in those space step up, and they've also seen third-party vendor management, third-party risk management, an extremely important word over the course of the last year and a half, as we've seen so many different breaches occurring. Not to name names, right, but ones that certainly have affected our day-to-day lives. And how do we ensure that not only are we secure, but the vendors that we use are also secure? And the only way to do that is a cloud environment and assurances to understand what is involved when we interact with our vendors in that manner. So to recap what we see on the right-hand side, internal and external assessors and auditors, third-party assessors and auditors, procurement officers has also been a major purchaser of CCAK training as organizations look to get an entire team trained up with CCAK. Makes a lot of sense. And then security and privacy consultants as well. From there, let's talk about what this can do for each of us as individuals. The CCAK prepares audit and IT professionals to have an in-depth understanding of cloud computing security, governance, and compliance. It demonstrates that they can be educated and educate on audit and committee members of cloud auditing issues and topics. We also see that this enables you to tackle unique cloud challenges, technology stacks, DevOps, CI and CD, continuous compliance, and other very much hot topic items that we're seeing occur here in cloud. And then it's the ability to address the challenges of transparency, complexity, interdependencies, scalability, and scope in the cloud environment. Having the CCAK allows you to demonstrate to your organization and to your clients, as well as your internal teams, that you have the capabilities described here. Let's talk about what it does for organizations. It prepares audit and IT teams to create a common understanding of cloud audit terminology. And this is a consistent problem throughout IT, is how are the practitioners able to communicate effectively with executive management? And we see that the CCAK enables that in a big way by allowing all parts of the organization to understand with a common terminology. The next piece that we see here is to establish cloud vendor neutral guidelines and considerations for cloud compliance and assurance. This also allows you to have flexibility in the cloud vendors that you're utilizing so that you can make the best and most cost-effective decisions as your organization makes different moves going out into the future. We also see this enables the organizations to take a well-planned and risk-based approach to cloud evaluation and audit management, and allows them to certify that. That enables an organization to also manage or audit the life cycle and usage of those cloud services. And finally, to integrate cloud compliance and audit into existing programs, certainly something that's essential for any organization to continue their operations in this newfound cloud environment. So that takes us to summarizing what we've seen already here today, CCAK in a nutshell. Again, it is the first ever credential of its kind that fits this need for a vendor neutral technical training and credentialing within cloud audit. We're also seeing that it is presented by industry leaders, the Cloud Security Alliance and ISACA, folks who are bringing both that cloud computing expertise and that digital trust component to enhance your skill set. And then thirdly, it brings a strong balance of technical and strategic learning, and it's taking these packages and putting it together in a certificate so that it is a 2-day training course with Learning Tree with no annual renewals, no CPE requirements, and no prerequisites. From there, I'd like to mention that as it's available through Learning Tree, the course number is 2042. There's 4 components involved. There's the study guide, which is available in physical or digital format. There is the question bank, which will help you to have access to the questions you need in order to pass the exam. There's the exam itself. And then fourthly, there is the membership for ISACA voucher, both ISACA Global and ISACA with your local chapter. Even if you're already an ISACA member, which I presume that many of the folks on this call are, the great thing about this is that by purchasing all these things together from Learning Tree, you can get a discount, and the voucher will allow you to use that towards your membership at ISACA when your current membership expires, even if you're a member already today. Taking that into our last piece, we see what to expect after the webinar. And Jackie, I will
Sure, thanks, Chris. Yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the webinar, we will be providing you with the slides as well as recording of this webinar, and it will go into your My Learning Tree account. And if you're new to Learning Tree, by registering for this webinar, we have created a My Learning Tree account for you. So expect that in a week or so. Please enter any questions you might have in the chat pod. As Chris mentioned, this is our course 2042. It complements our other ISACA offerings, the CISA, CISM, CGUITE, CRISC. So please take a look at the course on our webpage. Chris, I have a question here. What are there any minimum prerequisites for someone to take this course?
Requisites for this course. There are many logical complements to this course, no doubt, but there are no stated prerequisites. And by working with Learning Tree, you can be certain that they are one of our elite partners of ISACA here in the US. So that means that you'll be getting the highest quality materials, the highest quality training, and the best pricing for this, as you don't need to have any prior experience with ISACA or Learning Tree in order to get this content delivered to you.
And you mentioned, or you highlighted the fact that you guys have partnered with the Cloud Security Alliance for this certification. ISC Squared also partnered with CSC or CSA for their CCSP, their Cloud Security certification. Are these complementary to each other, or completely separate, handling different content?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jackie. And so what we see here is that the same elements are driving ISC Squared and ISACA to both partner with CSA on this, right? CSA has such a great reputation as the established authority in cloud. ISC Squared, the S in the CCSP is security, right? Whereas the A in CCAK is audit. So it really can be complementary depending on your role. For folks that are audit oriented, this is going to be the more appropriate solution. But for those folks that need to be able to deliver audit content, who already have the CCSP, this can certainly complement and add on to that expertise as well. So it really depends on the role. There's limited overlap between them because they are targeted at slightly different things. And as you think about the roles that you're interested in and what's demanded by your organization, we would encourage you to think about not just those two, but other certifications and certificates that might enable you to gain the skills you need and prove it through certification.
And Chris, you mentioned that there are no fees, there are no required continuing ed credits to maintain this certificate. But in taking the course, will someone earn CPEs?
Yeah, that's a great question and something that comes up all the time. So excellent question. And to be clear, you will earn CPEs for the CCAK course. Now, CCAK itself does not require any CPEs, but if you have certifications like the CISA, the CISM, CISSP, CRISC, CGUITE, and plenty more, and you have a requirement for CPEs, this course will fulfill that requirement for you.
Great, and it looks like that's the end of our questions, Chris. I don't see any coming into the chat pod. So do you have any closing remarks for us before we conclude?
Thanks, Jackie. Yep, got everyone on the call. Thank you very much for the time to present this to you. We're really thrilled about CCAK. You know, we are an authoritative nonprofit, and therefore, you know, we have access to everyone around the world, and we have brought this to market because it is the right thing for right now. And we really hope that this is something that allows you to get skills you need and to be able to verify that to your organizations, to your clients going forward, to present new ways for you to build on your career and deliver more out here in the marketplace. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate the opportunity to present, and hope to hear from you soon on the website.
And thank you, Chris. We really appreciate you, our valued partner for Learning Tree as well. And thanks, everyone, for attending.